Hi, Peter Charles here. And if you've been following my channel lately, you'll know that I've been talking a lot about Fujifilm autofocus. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about how to sort of get it out of the box mode and use some of the features in it to actually improve its performance. Okay, when you buy a camera, any camera, the autofocus is going to be set to some generic level that's sort of general purpose. And, you know, that's okay if you're just going to go around and shoot stationary things. But as soon as you try to do something demanding with it, you may find the autofocus doesn't keep up. Now, in earlier Fujifilm cameras, the autofocus didn't really have much of ability to do that. But the latest ones have a full tracking capability, and that tracking capability can be tuned both in still mode and in video mode to get the best results for the situation that you're trying to photograph or video. And we're going to look at those tracking options and how they work and how you should be using them. And the other thing, while we're looking, think about some of those somewhat negative reviews on Fujifilm autofocus and wonder if they ever use these features or if they just didn't even know they were there. So let's get started. And first we'll look at stills and then we'll look at video. Okay, here we're in still photography mode. We're in the autofocus manual focus section of the menu, and we're first start off at AF mode because we want to make sure we're in wide tracking. If you're in single point or zone, it gets a little bit touchy in terms of how your autofocus will function when you are going, trying to track an object. The next thing to do is come down to custom settings. And here you'll see that we have 6 settings that we can use. Multi-purpose, which, as you get an idea, is sort of a general do everything and not good at everything. That's really, I found that I really don't like multi-purpose very much. Then we have, obstacles that continue to track. So you can see down below we have tracking sensitivity and speed tracking sensitivity. Tracking sensitivity is how much the autofocus sticks to a subject, and the speed tracking is how fast it will change, how fast it will accommodate different movements or changes in the subject. So it's, if we ignore obstacles, we want the speed tracking sensitivity to 0. So if you go past a tree, for example, it won't suddenly hook on the tree. And for rapidly decelerating or accelerating subjects, like in a car race, you want that speed tracking at max. So it follows the vehicle as it moves towards you or away from you. And then for something that comes rapidly into your frame, you've got tracking sensitivity is set to 0 because you don't want it to be sticky. So if you're focused, let's say, on a tree and somebody runs by the tree, you want your autofocus to jump directly to that person that's running by. So that's the purpose for 4. 5 is for just erratic changes. So you want stickiness and high speed. So you're stuck to the subject that's moved, but they're moving around quickly, so you want the speed to be high. And 6 is where we can set the way we want. So we just come over here, press menu, and now you can, change whether it moves very quickly or it stays stuck on the subject. And you can also come in and change the speed from steady to rapid acceleration. In movie mode, the settings are a little different, but essentially the same. First thing we want to do is come into AF mode and make sure wide tracking is on. And then we're going to come down to custom settings. And you can see we don't have that list we had in the still photography section. We only have a manual setting of tracking sensitivity and AF speed. Now, this is the setting I'm using for on my podcast type videos where I'm not moving and I want this thing to be totally locked on me. So even if I bring something up in front of the camera, it doesn't quickly change. So we can just come over here and you can see you can change it however you like. If you wanted to duplicate some of those still photography settings, just make a note of them, then come over to this here and set them manually. But it's a little simpler in the movie section, and I find these do actually work. Okay, you can see the options that are available. Now, when I'm shooting this video right now, I've got stickiness set to maximum, and I've got eye detect on, and there's no hunting. You don't see any zit zit going on because of stickiness is high, and I've also taken speed to the lowest level. So if you're doing a podcast, it's ideal. Your tracking just stays locked on you, and I can move around, and it will track me without any difficulty. And but it's set up for a podcast. If I was going out videoing something else that's moving, I might have a totally different settings. And you can use the still settings as a clue as to how you should set up your video. So if you're going to get into shooting with Fujifilm cameras and you want that autofocus to work to your best advantage, get used to using these tracking functions because they really do work. Cheers.